Come out with us and play. Love your London. Have a banana. This is it, our 11th and final episode in our Alexandra Palace to Muswell Hill series. And it's a bumper special one, in which we're also going to be talking about Fortis Green. There's a lot of musical history in this one, particularly when it comes to the Kinks. But there's also going to be stuff about some of the local pubs, shops, architecture, even perfumeries. But we start our journey outside a very famous coffee shop.
Okay, so we are outside W.Martyn. Now this is a really famous grocer's. It's been with the same Martyn family for 4 generations. It has been trading here since 1897, run by the same family, William Martyn. It's also one of Suggs' favourite shops in the whole of London. Suggs from Madness. Remember, I spoke to you about him earlier. I've actually got 4D to thank for this. 4D, you may remember, came with us to the Cockney Museum, and he actually told me that this was one of Suggs' favourite shops ever. So I'm going to go in there and maybe speak to them and see if they can tell me what it's like to serve Suggs on a regular basis.
Oh, it smells amazing.
I know.
Oh my gosh, it's coming out from underneath the door. Oh. Mask. Yep.
Yeah, mask is on. Hello.
The owner's not in.
William's not in there.
Tomorrow. No.
Okay, tomorrow's going to be raining really bad, so might not be full. Yeah, probably be another day.
All right, then. I'll let you.
All right then, lovely. Thank you.
Love you, London.
Love your London.
Love your London.
Yeah, there's all the details on that card I gave you.
Okay.
Fantastic! Oh, amazing smells. Oh, actually,
Well, we'll never find out what Suggs' favourite coffee blend is, which we were prepared to buy. We did email in advance, but to this date we have not yet had an answer. But I'm sure Suggs likes a nice, nutty flavour.
Oh, by the way, you may notice that there's all these flats up there. But there's no doors. So how do the people who live in these amazing flats get to their flats? Let's go and find out, because behind these shops there is a really lovely, delightful mews, and that's where we're going next. Avenue Mews.
Oh, a mews! How exciting!
It is. Okay, so we are here on Avenue Mews, and there's lots of interesting places. You've got joineries. Here, as you can see, are the entrance areas where the people who live above the shops, like Martyn's, can actually get into their flats. It's a lovely, delightful layout. The thing I really wanted to show you here was Muswell Hillbillies Brewers. It hasn't been open very long. They're very unlucky with the pandemic. In fact, only last year, I believe, they opened a new brewer. They actually brew it just down here, one of these doors. But this is a place where you can buy the beer normally. They were doing deliveries and stuff like that. It is a real shame that it's not open at the moment, obviously. It's quite a sort of hipstery kind of place. They do sort of like DJ sessions where you can bring your own vinyl and sort of like have like an open mic DJ session on, I think, Sunday afternoon. The last Saturday of the month they're going to do tours of the brewery, and you can try their beers for free. Really interesting thing. Now, the name Muswell Hillbilly Brewers, I'm sure will ring plenty of bells, especially amongst Kinks fans. This is nothing to do with the Kinks, but obviously, as you know, the Kinks are from Muswell Hill. Ray Davies and his brother were born just around the corner from here. They released an album in 1971 called Muswell Hillbillies. This is obviously a nod to that album, Muswell Hillbillies. In fact, they even have a beer in here called Lola. So yeah, it's just it's obviously a paean to the opus of the Kinks, Muswell Hill's most famous sons, if you don't count, of course, that hideous Dennis Nilsson. Now, other things to show you around here. I mean, this is a fantastic little place. Can't Buy Me Love. This is an arts and crafts place. Now this is run by a father and a daughter. It was only meant to be a pop-up shop lasting for 1 month in 2010, but 11 years later they're still here. Now they only open on Saturdays from 12 till 5, as you can see here on the door. They have some really neat things. Now I know Christmas is a long way away, but if you're ever looking for a Dolly Parton angel for the top of your Christmas tree, this is the place to come. And apparently they sell like hotcakes when they come out. Now just here, this is Cha Cha Cha. This is another arts and crafts place. They get on very well, I'm sure. I think they do lots of vintage clothing as well. This is actually an older place. This is from 2004. It's a little bit more high-end as well, but it's interesting. There is a lovely mural just here, the creative hub of Muswell Hill. Nice little mural.
Yeah.
So as you can see, I mean, that's just in these few houses. There's just so much happening. So this is a sort of a real like hipster place. And obviously right now, with everything being closed, it's dreadful. I mean, these places hopefully aren't going to go out of business. But
you just have to really cross your fingers. These are the little guys that really need your help. So if you like shopping online, do, because a lot of them have a website presence. They do have that, but a lot of them don't. And a year is the kiss of death for a lot of these little shops.
So we actually just earlier we had some fish and chips here in Toffs. And it's absolutely delicious. Cod and chips came to about £13 each, which for London is really good. I mean, I know that for some of our viewers outside London you may balk at that, but really 13 quid for a decent piece of cod steak and loads of fat chips is really very good. Now Toffs has won quite a lot of awards, especially from Hardens. Established in 1968. They're also very big on sustainability. They use groundnut oil, and I think it's every evening they give the groundnut oil that they've been using, they give it to local farmers for recycling. So they're pretty good. I don't know if it's the best fish and chip shop in London. It has won lots of awards. Supposedly the best fish and chip shop in London is in Stanmore, and it's called Belmont Bay Fish and Chips. That's supposedly the best one in London. It's going to be quite a while till we get to Stanmore. Probably we'll cover it under Edgware and Stanmore, I suspect. So maybe when we get to E. But yeah, we'll have to see whether it's better than this one anyway. And now we're going to just go over there, up Fortis Green Road. We're sort of entering Fortis Green territory now, and we're going to have a look first of all at the cinema. Okay, so we are now on Athenaeum Place. Quite a strange name, I'm sure you'll agree. The reason why it's called Athenaeum Place is because this used to be called the Athenaeum. This was a very old music hall. Called the Athenaeum, built in 1900. There also used to be something called the Muswell Hill Parliament that used to meet here. It was a sort of debating society. So in 1918 it became a cinema, to loads of protests at the time. But it was doing okay up until 1936, when Odeon, although now it's called the Everyman, but in 1936, and you see that Art Deco building over there, opened a competing cinema, and it really did sign the death knell for the poor Athenaeum as a cinema. It kind of fell into disrepair, to be honest, and in 1966 it became a Sainsbury's. Now it's quite a hideous thing what they've done to it, I'm afraid. Fortunately that sort of thing wouldn't happen these days, because there's much more protection for historical buildings in Muswell Hill, because obviously this was before the conservation area existed. Definitely wouldn't happen these days. So we are on Fortis Green Road. The cinema is just back there. This is another one of those streets with lots of little quirky shops. Now come with me. First place I want to show you is here. First place I want to show you is here. Now this is the Muswell Hill cheese shop from 1982. Hello. Is this your shop, the cheese shop?
Yes, but it's closed.
No, I know. We're doing a little talk about Muswell Hill and places. So we're just going to talk. Where's my book? Here.
There we go. That's it.
So this is a fantastic little shop, and what they do. That you can buy a kilo of Manchego cheese here for very good value. It'll cost about £38. It's obviously a lot more expensive than in Spain, but again, for London, a kilo of Manchego cheese for £38 is pretty good. The other thing that you can do is you can join something called a monthly cheese subscription, where you get 3 mystery cheeses and some crackers and some chutney sent to your house for £55 a month. That seems a little bit pricey, but there again, I haven't seen what it's like, and I think you get a hard cheese, a soft cheese, and you get a hard cheese, a soft cheese, and a cream cheese maybe, or something. I'm not actually sure, but now obviously it's a niche market. I just love it. 1982 again. Lots of places they come here and they stay. It's expensive, I know, but if you don't want to see yet another Sainsbury's like the one over there, which completely wrecked the Athenaeum, if you don't want to see another one of those corporate places take over the high street, you need to support places like the cheese shop. And I must say, well done on them securing their domain name. As you'll see, their domain name is cheesesonline.co.uk. Fantastic that they managed to get hold of that when it came out. Well done. There again, that's the advantage of having a shop that's been around since 1982.
Since before the internet.
Yep. Unfortunately, not all shops survive. Over there, across the road, it's very sad that we see Fagin's Toys. That only closed last year.
And the bookshop.
The bookshop's closed as well. I'm not sure if that's closed permanently, but Fagin's was a very much loved toy shop. That's gone, I'm afraid. But one place that is still open is Les Aldrich Music. And Les Aldrich Music is an amazing little music shop. It dates from 1945. I mean, that's how old some of these places are. 1945. Now in Les Aldrich you can hire a cello, you can get your musical instruments repaired. They also have a music practice room where you can use their piano for just £10 an hour, which is really good, I think, for London. £10 an hour to have a tinkle on the old Joanna. Sounds like a bit of a bargain. Oh, is that Gong album?
Yeah, it is.
Whoa, that's cool. Look at that. I mean, they've got a Gong album
Just in the window again.
in the window of the hairdressers. I mean, how amazing is that? A fantastic psychedelic.
It's getting all faded. By the way.
Yeah, it's a fantastic psychedelic album, and it's just there sitting in front of a hairdresser's. Such an interesting place.
It is. We're losing our light, Tristán.
Now there is another Barber's, just I'm not sure how old this one is, but there's another Barber's just down here at the end of this road.
All right.
There we go. Gents Hairdressers, established 1906.
More than a century.
I mean, you just don't expect to see this, really. I mean, it's extraordinary.
Look at these houses.
Places just stay open, they carry on in the family.
This is really affluent.
It's called the New Century Barber Shop. That used to be called the John Logie Baird, obviously named after the guy who he invented television, I guess you could say.
This guy's not.
Some people say that someone else invented it. Anyway, it used to be called until very recently the John Logie Baird. It's now called the Village Green. Now there is no Village Green round here, so I imagine this is another nod to the Kinks, because I'm sure that many of you are aware one of their albums, not one of my favourites I must say, but one of their albums was called The Kinks Are the Village Green Appreciation Society. So I imagine that this is quite possibly a nod to that album. It has a fantastic beer garden. If we look over this fence, you should be able to see the fantastic beer garden. It's quite idyllic, to be honest. But yeah, okay, on to the next place. Oh, look at these buildings here. They're interesting, aren't they? With the balconies, wooden balconies, classy, and right next to a fantastic pub. How lucky are they?
I like those houses out there. See that sort of, they come over, it's sort of arts and crafts almost, with the blue half timbering. That's really nice.
That's cool, but these are, I think, yeah, okay.
Those are a bit more twee. Like
cool. Okay, so now let's move on to the next place.
Still to come in this episode, we talk about Fairport Convention, Rod Stewart, and we visit the childhood home of Ray and Dave Davies of the Kinks. But let us take this opportunity now to ask you, please share this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. You can even patronise us on Patreon. So much work goes into the research, the filming, the editing. At the very, very least, please hit that like button. We'll just give you a couple of seconds now to do that. Cool, back to the video.
Okay, now this is number 3 Birchwood Avenue. Now I'm sure you may remember that amazing little Studio Ghibli film, The Red Turtle. It was a few years back. It got an Oscar nomination and everything. Well, the director was Dutchman Michaël Dudok de Wit, and his animation studio is right here. I believe that he teaches in there as well, which is pretty cool. Check that out over there.
How fun. Now that is what you call recycle.
That is really cool.
cool.
So we're just literally around the corner from the Studio Ghibli place. This building here, number 171 Fortis Green Road, they've got a little interesting business called Exaltatum. And what they do, and this is fascinating, you can make your own perfume in there.
Nice.
It's not cheap. They do workshops.
Yeah, so
basically you experiment making your own perfume, and for £110 you can use their 28 different blends. Nice. And you take away a 15 milliliter bottle of a perfume that you give a name to.
Okay.
And they can also recreate that for you at any time in the future, should you wish to buy it again. It does sound really interesting, but £110 is quite pricey. So Exaltatum, if you're listening, we would absolutely love to have a go at making perfume one day. Can't afford 110, but maybe we could do a special, like a little promo or something. That'd be really fun. Love to make a Love Your London perfume. That sounds like a great idea. Okay, now over here, oh my god. What have they done? What have they done to that church?
Alright, let's go over there and check it out.
Well, no, I mean...
Are you sure it's the right one?
Yeah, that's the United Reformed Church. It's certainly bloody reformed. I mean, it looks nothing like what it used to look. Have a look. I mean, I've got an old photo here of it if you want to see it. If you look at this photo now here on Google Maps from a very, very short while ago, you'll see it was absolutely beautiful, lovely stone facade.
Yeah, they've plastered
and
it.
And they've completely destroyed it.
Plastered over it. It's still there.
Oh. Yeah, so the United Reformed Church used to run Tetherdown Hall, which is that primary school opposite. It used to be the village hall, and I think it's now becoming a privately run nursery school. So here it is. This is the Muswell Hill preschool. It was completely plagued by delays, and it really, really annoyed a lot of the people living around here because of all the overrunning building work and the noise. And then about 3 years ago, the workers just downed their tools and left. and leaving the roof without a roof. They hadn't even put the roof on. I think the roof is up on there now. Let's have a look. Very strange. But anyway, that's Tetherdown Hall. Now I do want to show you very briefly these amazing garages around the back. I mean, this is just like really beautiful classic architecture. Fortunately, I believe it's protected. I mean, check that out. Yeah. Yeah. It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that lovely? That's really special. It's a little hidden gem. A lot of people actually, even locals, don't even come down here. They think it's private, and they think that, well, it's private, but you know, there's nothing. It's still a public way. I mean, it's still. No one's telling you can't go down here. There's not a no entry sign or anything. They don't come down here, and they miss this. So now this here is Fortismere School. Very important school for the Kinks. This is where Ray Davies and Dave Davies went to school. Though in Ray's day it was called William Grimshaw Secondary Modern School. Now I'm sure all of you know who Ray and Dave Davies were. In case you don't, they were of course the leaders of the Kinks, an amazing band that lasted from 1963 to 1996. When I say 1996, Ray Davies is still doing lots and lots of solo stuff. I think I've seen him 3 times at Glastonbury. Fantastic performer. Kinks did so many of my favourite songs. I mean, Waterloo Sunset is probably one of my favourite songs of theirs. But you know, they did Dedicated Follower of Fashion and just so many. Lola, Sunny Afternoon, All Day and All of the Night, You Really Got Me. I mean, classic after classic. But Waterloo Sunset is probably among my top 3 favourite songs ever.
We have a sunset.
And we are here, we're seeing the sunset, so quite appropriate. By the way, actually Rod Stewart went to this school as well. And he even sang in the Ray Davies Quartet in 1962, I think it was, a couple of times. But then he went on to form his own quartet called the Moonrakers. He didn't hang around that long with the Davies brothers. Now actually Rod Stewart was born not that far away from here, at number 507 Archway Road. I'm not going to take you there because A, it's in Archway and we're not really covering Archway. B, it's not there anymore. It's now I think it's a car wash. It's just in the middle of an estate.
The car wash.
So we'll give that a miss, I think. Unlike the Davies brothers, who still absolutely love Muswell Hill, for them it's so important, this place. Rod Stewart, I think, has moved on from Muswell Hill. I mean, he now lives in Beverly Hills. He's got a massive 180-acre estate in Epping. He's got houses in Palm Beach and Beverly Hills. He's Benicio del Toro's brother-in-law, for Pete's sake, so he's forgotten about his Muswell Hill roots. Certainly doesn't seem to sing about them anymore. But the Davies brothers love Muswell Hill, so it's very important for them. That's why we're making such a big deal about the Kinks in these videos. I'm going to show you shortly the house where Ray and Dave were brought up. It's still there, so this is really going to be a treat. But on the way, we've got another little musical landmark to share with you, and it's a very interesting one too. Okay, so we are on the corner of Fortis Green and Fortismere Avenue. Lots of Fortis here. Now this house here, this beautiful house here, quite an old house actually, that house there is called Fairport House. Now, I did promise you there's going to be another musical connection. Fairport House was owned by a doctor, and his son Simon Nicol was a guitarist for Fairport Convention. The band named themselves after the house that belonged to the guitarist's doctor father. It hasn't actually changed much at all. There's a drawing here from 1908 from the designs of architect Herbert Collins, who kind of designed most of the places around this particular area. Herbert Collins. It looks pretty much the same. I mean, apart from the fact it's now got a satellite dish on top, you couldn't really tell. I mean, you can tell immediately. It looks absolutely identical. There's a drawing here from 1908.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay, so now as you'll look over here, you'll see this house here with lots of tennis balls in the garden. Now this house does not have a tennis connection at all. It is the birthplace of Ray and Dave Davies of the Kinks, the two brothers. This is where they were born. Carry on.
They were born in a hospital? They were born
No, they were born here, born in this house.
in the house.
They were born in this house. What am I saying? Sir Ray Davies. He's Sir. He was.
Finally, he gets it.
Yes, he got knighted, didn't he, last year? So sorry, your honour.
Kinknesses.
Honour? Your
Kinkness.
kinkness. Dave was the youngest of the 8 kids. Ray was his older brother, and they had 6 daughters, and they were all, I think they were all born in this house. It's absolutely fantastic to think it's still here, and I know it would mean a lot to the Kinks because we know how important preservation was for them. 3 of their album titles have the word preservation in them, so you know, to the fact that their house is still preserved, still looks pretty similar to how it used to look, is fantastic, and very lucky people who live there now. Now,
No blue plaque though.
no, he's still alive. Their bass player, Pete Quaife, would actually join them in the front room just there, and they'd rehearse. And there used to be a piano also just over there in the corner, and that's where Ray and Dave actually at that piano wrote "You Really Got Me" in 1964, right there. So you can just imagine hearing it now coming through those walls if we were here in 1964. Now, talking of "You Really Got Me," there's a really good book by Nick Hastad called "The Story of the Kinks, You Really Got Me." And if you use a link in the description, you can get it for just £9.24 instead of £9.99, which saves you 8% of the recommended retail price. And also, by using that link, you're helping us, because we'll end up with a 4.5% commission, which, well, that's going to be about 41p. That's about 41p, so that's not bad, is it? I mean, it would be nice to maybe spend that 41p in the Clissold Arms over there. Now, the Clissold Arms is where the Kinks had their first gig, unsurprisingly, because it was just across the road. It's also where their dad would get absolutely slaughtered quite often in there.
The slaughterhouse man got slaughtered.
Yes, quite right.
That job, I'd probably get slaughtered too.
It is a real shame that we cannot show you inside the pub because of the pandemic. I've got some photos here from inside, and as you'll see, it is, as you'd hope, a museum to the Kinks as well. There's Kinks memorabilia everywhere. Just have a look at these pictures. So honestly, once the pubs are open again, you have to make a trip here if you're a fan of the Kinks. Even if you're not a fan of the Kinks, even if you're just a fan of music in general, it is a landmark place. And it is where they played, as I said, in 1960. They played their first gig as the Ray Davies Quartet, and the Kinks had their first gig here in 1963. The Clissold Arms pub actually gets a mention in Dave Davies' song from 2002, Fortis Green, which of course is the name of that street just up there. Mum would shout and scream when Dad would come home drunk. When she'd ask him where he'd been, he said, "Up the Clissold Arms, chatting up some hussy," but he didn't mean no harm. So that's one of Dave's songs from 2002. As I said, for them, Muswell Hill is so important to them, not unlike for some others like Rod Stewart. Anyway, our trip from Alexandra Palace to Muswell Hill has reached its conclusion, and we've kind of included a lot of Fortis Green as well.
We're kind of done?
We're kind of done.
Oh,
we forgot the clapperboard.
Oh, and it's getting dark too.
We'll do the clapperboard. I thought this would take an extra day, but we managed to fit so much in.
Yeah, we didn't bring all our stuff.
We didn't bring the clapperboard with us. So let's just do a little.
All right, wait.
And that's a wrap.
Wait, that's a wrap.
There we go. Didn't bring the clapperboard, but yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this. Now we will be covering other parts like Bounds Green, Bowes Park, Wood Green, Hornsey, Crouch End, Haringey. We're going to be doing them all as separate episodes later on in the series. We don't want to be hang around here for too long. Highgate, of course, will be also included, and Highgate Woods and Highgate Cemetery. That's all going to be included in later episodes, in later series. Next, we're going to Alperton and Stonebridge. We're also hopefully going to check out Tokington. What more can I say? Just subscribe, because then you'll we'll know when the new episode. You'll know when the new. So ring that little bell as well, because then ding-a-ling, because then you'll know when the new episodes are out and the new series is out. Because it might be some time. You never know.
We'll be there waiting for you.
Yeah, definitely. And like this video and share it. Share our stuff, because we also need lots more subscribers.
Yeah.
The
pandemic has really hit us all very hard. We haven't been able to produce a lot of content, as you can see. So we really need to. We've got a lot of catching up to do, and not very much time left before 1 year. Can you believe it? 1 year. There you go.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
We had wanted to go back to India this year for a holiday, but the pandemic has put the kibosh on that. However, Alperton is almost like a mini India, and we can't wait to share our travels with you. Plus, we'll be seeing what Stonebridge and Tokington, also known as Monk's Park, have to offer. Oh, and if you want to catch up on the previous 10 episodes on Alexandra Palace to Muswell Hill, then that little box in the top right hand corner will take you straight to the playlist. And if you would like to play You Really Got Me on the piano yourself, check out the weekly piano jam, where pianist Joep Holegi can show you where to put your fingers. Till next time. From Acton Town to Wimbledon, from Brixton to beyond, love your London, have a banana.